Hey, Tom.
Yes, Luke.
Listen to this. Ha! Look, my voice is back. We got it. Turf and Touchdowns is back with a bang. Thursday Night Football is what we're looking forward to this week. It's a bit more Thursday Night Football than we're used to so far this season. We've got the Jets taking on the Patriots. Luke Elder alongside Tom Collins. It feels good to actually be heard once again. I'm not 100%, but this is better.
Yeah, you're fit and healthy, or getting towards that, which is not what you can say about the majority of players in the NFL currently, Luke. The injury list in the NFL is ridiculous. Now, we've come to expect a lot of injuries, obviously, in American football. It's kind of part and parcel of the sport. But after 2 weeks, virtually every big name is hurt. Fortunately, however, you're coming up and getting a little bit fit and healthier. So, yeah, we've got you back on side, which hopefully means more winning tips.
Yeah, no IR for Luke. We're not going to do that part. But if you were feeling happy about Cooper Kupp, you're not feeling pretty happy right now. If you're feeling good about anyone else, you're not feeling good about them either. But we got another week ahead of us. We've got Thursday Night Football to look forward to. If you are just watching us for the first time, or if you're watching us for the second, third, fourth time and haven't subscribed, go ahead. Do that now. Also, leave a like on the video. That really helps us on our end, and a comment. Who do you think will take out Thursday Night Football? And leave your best bets as well in the comment section below. We love interacting with you guys. But over the last week or so, well, I say week, Thursday Night Football last week, we both put up one selection each. Mine landed. I felt quite bad about your one in Dalton Kincaid because I feel like yours should have landed. He missed part of the game because he took a knee to the helmet, and that was him down for a little while. But he was having a good game up until that point. He got the first two plays that went to him, and it went downhill from there.
Yeah, it did. And to be honest, after a quarter in last week's Thursday Night Football game, I was sitting there pretty, and you were almost cursing in our WhatsApp chat because James Cook wasn't having much luck on the ground. Then he burst out with this huge run, which basically landed you over in rushing yards, and you were extremely happy. Meanwhile, I was there cursing what was going on with Dalton Kincaid. So it was a tale of changing fortunes, but fortunately your selection won, which meant that we broke even between us on last week's TNF, and hopefully this week we'll go 2 out of 2 insofar as 100%.
Yeah, I was so close to putting up James Cook like 1,000 touchdowns as well, but I just thought, you know what, let's not go too far. But James Cook had a fantastic week. We landed that side of things. We'll try and do similar this week. We're focusing on the New England Patriots taking on the New York Jets. The favourites, unsurprisingly, are the Jets, currently 5-14, so heavy odds on favourites, 1-3 in places. They are 6.5 point favourites as well. The over-under is 38.5, which is quite important. We'll be getting to that in a few moments. But I'll be honest, the Jets haven't looked great this year, Tom. The Patriots have looked, on the flip side, an awful lot better than we were expecting.
Yeah, 100%. New York, as you say, 6.5 point favourites on the spread, but I think that's probably a little bit too much considering the Jets' offense has just been misfiring, especially Aaron Rodgers. Like, I'm Rodgers' biggest fan, obviously being a huge Packers supporter. I've been watching Rodgers throughout his career, and I'm always there to back him up because he has just been a fantastic quarterback. Obviously, last season he played like 12 minutes or something ridiculous before suffering an injury. This year he does look very rusty. I think he missed a fair few throws last week that he should have made in week one. Similar could have applied. So A-Rod needs to turn up for this Jets offense to work. Garrett Wilson, again, just doing very little, especially in the red zone for them. So, look, they're misfiring a touch. The one person that isn't misfiring for the Jets is Breece Hall. He's been very good so far with the carries and obviously receptions he's had. We'll get back to that side of things later when we come to player props. But the Jets need to fire on offense. The Patriots, I thought, played pretty well against you. And obviously they won in week one. So there's a lot of upside to New England, considering everyone thought they were going to be the worst team in football this year. If you love trends, and I do this every single Thursday Night Football, so I'm doing it again, the trends over the last however long suggest New England are the team to beat here. They've won 36 of the last 44 encounters against the Jets. However, we should caveat that by saying Tom Brady and Bill Belichick were together for the majority of those wins, and this isn't the same Patriots team. The New York Jets did win the last encounter, and that was 17-3 last year in January. So, you know, the Jets have the recent uptick, but the Patriots have been the team that have won this matchup regularly over the last few years.
Yeah, we're talking about slightly different teams from those last 44 or whatever encounters it is, but they're probably more balanced than they have been in recent years. Everything you mentioned there was a little bit more towards the negative side, so we'll go in with the first bet. You are focusing on the total points side of things.
I am, yeah. The first bet is the under here. Under 38.5 total points at 10 to 11. Now, between us, we hate bets like this because watching an under and trying to support an under in a game is just so frustrating and tense and nerve wracking because you just don't want to see any offensive plays. But that's kind of the opposite of what you want as a watcher of NFL. You want to see some good entertainment and some action. So I'm going to be sat there shaking, nervous, hoping nothing happens in this matchup. The reason I like it, as I said, the offense for New York just isn't firing at the moment. And New England now playing the Jets. Jets have a very good defense. I don't think we're going to be seeing 20 plus points from New England. So I'm hoping that A-Rod doesn't get it all together this week on the short week. And there is a bit of, rustiness on both sides of the ball. I can easily see this going 21-17. And that for this matchup, for the Jets v Patriots, 21-17 would be quite a high scoring game considering what we've seen in recent years. Even that would hit the under. There is every chance that we could see a 17-13, for example. Again, that would be a comfortable hit on the under here. The running backs are the key here. If Stevenson or Breece Hall go off, then we could see this hit the over, and I won't be overly happy. But I'm going to play under 38.5 points at 10 to 11. I think that's a reasonable line and a reasonable bet.
I fully get it. I went on the unders for the opening week of the season with Chicago and Tennessee. It hit the unders. Will Levis tried to make sure it hit the overs by being just the worst quarterback you've ever seen in your entire life. And he did that in week 2 as well. But let's not dwell on that side of things. I'm going for 3 bets this week for Thursday Night Football. All of them are player props. So we'll get into the first one. You mentioned, Tom, that the Jets are a good defense. And they are. There's one thing they don't do well, though. They're not great against the run. So far, they allowed 147 yards on the floor on the ground against San Francisco. 147 yards all went to Jordan Mason. They allowed 82 rushing yards against the Titans. That was Tony Pollard and Tyjae Spears. None of those 3 running backs are anywhere near as good as Ramondre Stevenson. And New England are a run-first team. They are heavy leaning on the run. So far, Ramondre Stevenson had 25 carries for 120 yards and 21 carries for 81 yards as well. And Antonio Gibson didn't do too badly against Seattle. His stats were quite inflated. He had a massive run against us, which kind of wasn't really a run whatsoever. It was a pass that went lateral, and then he took off from there. So Ramondre Stevenson is absolutely the workhorse back here. The Patriots offense has looked a lot better than we expected so far this season. There's not much else to say really about Ramondre Stevenson. He will get the ball plenty of times. His line is 65.5. I think that's plenty low enough regarding Ramondre. I think he's an absolute must start in fantasy this week, and I think he'll do well against the Jets. We go from one side of the ball for the over 65.5 for Ramondre. I'm going to go for Breece Hall as well, and it's not the last time I mentioned Breece Hall in this podcast. Over 4.5 receptions. That's even money at the moment, which I think is really, really big as a price. He's been the entire offense effectively so far this season. Yes, he's a running back, but he gets the ball plenty throughout the air. He's had 6 targets and 8 targets so far through 2 games. He's become a key receiver as well for Aaron Rodgers. It's not a case that he's been taking little checkdowns. We saw in their latest game, Breece Hall took Aaron Rodgers aside and said, look, if there's a linebacker on me, throw me a go ball because I'm going to be there. He did. Touchdown. It was immediate, and Aaron Rodgers clearly trusts his guy in Breece Hall. One thing that I'm going to mention, and this is going to be a sort of trend throughout this podcast, I'm not sure Aaron Rodgers likes who he's playing with. I don't think he likes a great deal of the team around him, and we'll get to that, but he loves Breece Hall. This is his guy, effectively, in this offense. He wants to really like Garrett Wilson as well. They're working on that, but you look at the Jets for what they could achieve sort of going forward this week. Zach Charbonnet last week, backup running back for Seattle Seahawks, who he's fine. He's not wowed so far. He caught 5 balls for 31 yards against the Patriots. There were 5 catches allowed to the Cincinnati running backs and a mix of Zach Moss and Chase Brown as well. The New England pass defense has been pretty leaky so far in terms of yards. They don't allow touchdowns. That's one thing they don't allow. They've only allowed 1 passing touchdown on them in the opening 2 games, 2 of them on the ground as well. However, Breece Hall should be able to get his. Aaron Rodgers is going to target him quite heavily once again. But if he gets 6 targets or 8 targets, he'll crush that over 4.5. I think over 4.5 receptions at even money is something that I very much like. But we'll keep, Tom, the Breece Hall ball rolling because you quite like him as well.
Yeah, look, I love the receptions angle, and I very much agree with you when you say that Aaron Rodgers doesn't seem to love this team at the moment, this offensive unit, but he does love Brees. By the way, that catch you mentioned for the touchdown where Brees was on that go route on the
Unreal.
linebacker, he has amazing hands. He could play receiver in this league based on that. He's obviously not got the height, but he's very good at running routes and obviously has fantastic hands. So I like that angle. And I'll slightly veer away from the bet really quickly, but Brees Hall is going to be the player that everyone focuses on when it comes to wagers and bets in this game because of his target share and how many carries he gets per game. You know, he's going to get the volume, so many people are going to bet him to get the yardages and make him hit the overs. Now, the default selection for most people is obviously going to be rushing yards for a running back. That generally is the default selection. But the line is relatively high at 68.5. You would anticipate Brees to crush that usually, but in 2 games this year, he's not gone over. So, you know, if you go back to last year when they played New England, he smashed that line, and maybe you're thinking he'll do it again. But I think it's relatively high. So I did want to also look on the receiving side of things. I like how you've gone for receptions, but I'm going to go for receiving yards for Brees Hall. The line is currently set to 30 and a half, and I really like the over here at 10 to 11. Hopefully, this is like a hand-in-hand selection, almost a joint play. We landed a joint play with the Jets last week, actually, on Sunday, but this is almost a joint play. If he gets your amount of receptions that you want him to, he should also get the receiving yards that I want him to. He caught 12 of his 14 targets so far this season. That's across 2 games. Not only is he proving exceptionally consistent at the fact that he's actually catching his targets, but he's also managing to get quite a few targets per game, which is a big positive. He had 39 yards in week 1, 52 yards in week 2. Either of those lines easily crossed the 30 and a half that we want him to do this week. As I say, he's got exceptional hands, very good route runner. He's going to get open in plays, and A-Rod's first look always seems to be Brees Hall and not Garrett Wilson at the moment. So I'm pretty hopeful that Brees is going to hit that over line in the receiving yards.
Yeah, I like Brees Hall. Brees Hall will have a big game in this. It's stating the obvious, but he'll have a big game in Thursday night football. Our four mentions so far have all been a bit more mainstream, haven't they?
They have.
Let's do something
Are
a
you going
little
to do
bit.
us a Daniel Jones number?
No, down with Daniel Jones. How? No, we won't do that. We'll do that on Sunday. Hold it in. Hold it in. Malik Neighbours was good, but what on earth are you doing, Daniel Jones? Right. Let's go left field. Ever heard of Mike Williams?
I've heard of the injured Mike Williams.
Good wide receiver. Very good wide receiver for the Los Angeles Chargers. Oh, he's in New York now. He's in New York. You wouldn't really know that though, because he's not really done a great deal so far in a couple of games. He obviously tore his ACL last year when he was in LA. He was a brilliant wide receiver for the Chargers over the last few seasons. Now the Chargers cleared house. Obviously, Keenan Allen went to Chicago, and Mike Williams ended up coming here to New York. He was never going to be an early season asset for Aaron Rodgers. However, he needs him to be now because no one else is stepping up. I get that Alan Lazard had a good game in week 1. Tyrod Taylor threw in one of those touchdown catches that he got, and it was a bit of a mess, that one, regardless. But New York desperately need a receiver to take a step forward. I think that could be Mike Williams. Now, he started off this season on a snap count. He played in his Jets debut just 18% of snaps. That was straight up last week to 65% in game 2. Now, he only got one target in that, but he made the most of it. He caught that one target, and it was quite a key part of the game. I just think it was a part of the game they couldn't hold him out of. They were 2nd and 16. There were 5 minutes left, and they were tied as well against the Titans. Aaron Rodgers throws up a real 50-50 ball for him. He goes up, gets it, and that's him done for the game. He gets his 19-yard reception. The over this week, or over under, is 22 and a half yards. I think this could be, I'm not going to say a Mike Williams breakout game, but I like him to sort of go over 40 yards in this spot. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to trust him more and more. This is the wide receiver 2 for the Jets. It's just how much time he's going to need to overcome that injury. In the latest contest, he was ahead regards to receiving yards of both Malachi Corley, who was meant to have a fairly good season for the Jets, and importantly as well, Alan Lazard, who had a very good game 1. It's more left field this, but Mike Williams, Tom, over 22 and a half yards, that just seems a little bit low to me. I think this could be, as I say, not a breakout game, but a better game for Mike Williams.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate it. This is a bit of a left field selection, as you say, just because he hasn't been in the forefront of the offense so far. But what we know with Mike Williams is that, one, he can go up and get the ball. He's very aggressive when he tries to catch. And two, because the line is so low at 22.5, and the player that Mike Williams is, that he doesn't run like hitch routes in ins and outs, he runs deep routes generally. One catch could easily land the over for him. So I don't hate it at all. It's a bit left field, but I kind of like left field.
I think Aaron Rodgers quite likes him as well. In my
Yeah, I
opinion.
mean,
I mean,
he's different to any receiver that he had at Packers, because we had Devontae Adams. I mean, he's had the likes of Jordy Nelson. All of these players they're not Mike Williams, basically. They're not big guys that are going to go up and win the ball, going to run posts and corners. They run all routes, and Mike Williams is a bit one-dimensional. So I think he does like him. He's a bit of a different weapon.
Yeah, to throw him a ball on 2nd and 16 with 5 minutes left as well. He trusts him anyway. So, Mike Williams over 22.5. Tom, just run us through your bets again.
My bets are under 38.5 total points, 10 to 11, and Breece Hall over 30.5 yards receiving.
I'm looking at Breece Hall as well. Over 4.5 receptions is even money. Mike Williams over 22.5 yards is 5 to 6. And also at 5 to 6 is Ramondre Stevenson over 65.5 rushing yards. That's the plays for this week on Thursday Night Football. We are off now to record a horse racing preview. We are looking over at Parks this week. Torpedo Anna et al. Will be making their way towards the Breeders' Cup via Parks at the weekend. Go to have a look at our horse racing preview if you haven't already. If you're not a horse racing fan, go check it out. See if you can unearth something new for yourself to like. But that's what we're going to do right now. We're back on, I would say Sunday, but later on in the week for our Sunday preview on the NFL front. Tom, I'll talk to you in a second.
Yep, see you in a bit, mate.
Perfect. Thank you very much for listening to our Thursday Night Football preview. Stay safe. Look after them.